Hi, this is Rob Plenick from C3 Method. I had a client ask about how to manage rest periods during warm-ups and working sets. So I wanted to show an example with my first exercise today, which is cable straight arm pull downs. This will be a unilateral exercise, and then I'll also show how I manage warm-ups and working set rest periods for a bilateral exercise as well. So for this, the main goal is just kind of get the first couple sets lightweight, get your mind-muscle connection, get a feel for what you want to feel on the working sets. And since it's lightweight, you're not going to have a lot of aerobic demand. So my rest time between warm-up sets is very fast. For something like this, I probably won't take much of a rest at all. I'll just do my right arm, add weight, right arm, left arm, add weight, maybe take 20, 30 seconds, same thing, add a little bit of weight. And then when I get to my working sets, for a unilateral movement that's small muscles like this, doesn't take a lot of aerobic stress, a lot of aerobic capacity, your working set rest periods are probably going to be maybe 1 to 2 minutes, if that. Whereas if we're doing back squats, I might take 3, even up to 5 minutes. So that way my working sets aren't limited by the fact that I can't breathe, they're limited by muscle performance. So that's the idea. So I'll go through and kind of get a couple sets in here. I'll probably fast forward so you don't have to watch all this, but I just want to discuss how I would manage this and then show you some examples. Good. So my working sets are going to be 10 reps, so I'm actually doing 10 reps in the warm-ups. Sometimes people won't do as many reps during their warm-ups. Kind of depends on how demanding the exercise is. If I'm working up to, like, say, a max effort set of 10 on squats, I'm probably going to warm up with just maybe some doubles and triples as I get closer and closer to what I know will be my weight. If it's a movement where you don't know the weight you're going to need, it's probably better to warm up closer to the target working set rep range. So that way you can have a good estimate of the weight. Whenever you do your first working set, you're not going to accidentally pick too light or too heavy. You'll have a pretty good idea of what you should be doing. Okay, so that felt pretty good. I actually feel as though I'm going to be wanting to get a better lift and a stretch in my shoulder than what this current setup offers. So I'm going to drop this handle and I'll then actually just be pulling through the cable itself. And this is an example of why it's really good to do warm-ups, so that way you can make sure your setup is correct, let alone also be working on that mind-muscle connection. This gives you a chance to kind of refine things and get them personalized for your needs. Even if we've done the exercise before and even multiple times, you might find as your body develops, as your mind-muscle awareness develops, that little small tweaks are necessary from time to time. So therefore, the warm-ups are a great opportunity to give yourself the opportunity, the exposure to those maybe learning moments. And so I really like that. I'm always open to that. I'm a big fan of doing more warm-ups than less warm-ups. I find that it really helps develop mind-muscle connection over time. I've been lifting now for 26 years, and I still really like getting a feel of everything before I get into my most aggressive sets. So now I'll go ahead and add weight. And I'll be trying it with this new setup and seeing if this feels better as to what I'm looking for this day. Okay, that definitely felt better. Definitely like the increased range of motion. Adding a little bit of weight allowed me to feel what I want to feel in that muscle. I got 10 reps there. My goal today would be to get my first working set or two around 10, but I'm okay if the muscle starts fatigue and my rep ranges drop, maybe down to like 6 to 8. I really just want to get a nice isolation on the lower lat with this, and I'm okay with a heavier weight load, lower rep range, as I feel for me that I can feel my lower lat better, rather than if I go too high of reps or too light of weight, it's hard to kind of feel that lat doing the work. I like using this for a little bit heavier weight and a little bit lower rep range. So now I'll catch my left arm, and then this is probably going to get me a pretty good idea of what I'm going to need for my first working set weight-wise. Okay, so that felt really good. I did 30 pounds in the first warm-up, 40 on the second, and I'm gonna go ahead and move to 50 now. And this will probably be my first working set. What I also do is I'll play with my tempo a little bit during a set. If I start the set and it feels like it might be a little bit on the lighter side, I'll slow down my eccentric portion of the movement and even the concentric portion if I need to. The eccentric is when the working muscle is extending under weight load, and the concentric is when the muscle is contracting. So for this, the concentric is when my lat is contracting, which is the way down. The eccentric is the extension on the way up. We are stronger during the eccentric portion, and we actually accrue more muscle stress and damage during the eccentric portion. So I like to slow that down first, because if I slow that down and I make the eccentric a little harder, it just lowers its strength to match the concentric. I still get a really good stimulus, to where if I were to slow down the concentric, the set dies too fast and maybe I don't maximize the stimulus. So for me, if it starts a little bit light, I'll slow the eccentric down to kind of match the intensity to the rep range I'm looking for. It's usually just a small modification. I mean, if I have to go from a normal rep speed to like 10 seconds per rep, it's way too light. I'll stop the set, add weight. And then likewise, if I start too heavy, maybe I'll go a little bit faster, get a good stimulus out of that set, and then adjust the weight on the next one. So you can play with your tempo to make sure that you maximize that first working set, even if the weight selection's a little bit high or low. So I'll get my first working set in here. Again, my goal is somewhere around 6 to 10. I'm hoping to get around 10 here. Let's see how it goes. Okay, that felt pretty good. So I might have been able to do 11, I don't know, about a 12th. I probably would have started to cheat that a little bit. So that tells me I'm at a pretty good weight. If I'm a rep short of true good form failure, not gonna be the worst thing. I can now continue to do more working sets if I'm aiming for, say, 3 or 4. By the third or fourth, I'm definitely gonna be like reaching true failure, maybe not even getting to 10 reps. Whereas if I was only doing 1 or 2 working sets, I would definitely want to move this up. So it also depends on how many total sets you're doing. If you're only doing 1 or 2, you have to maximize those. If you're doing 3 or 4, you can play with your tempo a little bit and let the strength kind of wear out and dissipate over the course of those 3 to 4 working sets. So now we'll catch the left side. Okay, that one felt good as well. So for me, I am more of a volume style trainer, so I'll probably end up doing 3 or 4 working sets. So I'm gonna keep this weight for the second set. If I get another set of 10 on each side where I feel like maybe I could have done 1 more, then I'll go ahead and add weight and really challenge myself in the third and fourth set. But this is the normal rest periods that I would take. I'm actually taking a little longer because I'm talking. But when I'm warming up and I'm at sub-maximal weights, and your unilateral movement, it's basically just one side then the other, one and the other. When you get to your working sets, if it's a small muscle group, 1 minute is probably enough rest. If it's a larger muscle group, maybe 2 or 3. If it's a big movement in unilateral, say really heavy walking lunges, you might take that 3, 4, even 5 minute rest. But that gives you an idea of what the pacing should look like. Quick when it's light, and then take the rest you need when you get to your working sets. You want to make sure that the working sets are reaching good form failure due to muscle fatigue, not aerobic fatigue, but you also don't want to wait any longer than it's necessary. So it's a little bit of an experimentation kind of process, but that gives you some guidelines to think through while you're going through it. So I made it through my working sets of straight arm pull downs. I then did half kneeling, 1 arm pull down, and those went really well. This will be my first bilateral movement of the day, so I'm using both arms at the same time. How I warm this up, I just set this up. I got the bar in place, put a plate on. I haven't done anything yet. Now for this, I want to do sets of around 8 to 12 reps. And as I was saying with the straight arm pull downs, you want to do your warm-up sets close enough in reps to your target rep range so you have a good idea of what weight to use. I personally just go for the bottom of the window. So if it's 8 to 12, I'll do sets of 8. If you want to be a little conservative, you can do sets of 6. But if you only do 2 or 3 reps, you're going to have really a hard time deciding what will be the right weight for an 8 to 12 rep range. So you can hedge your bet a little bit, do a little bit less, but you still want to stay close. Even though I'm already done 2 exercises, this will be my 3rd one, I'm still going to do a warm-up set or 2 or even 3. I, again, like to do more because I want to find the right position for the day. I want to get a good mind-muscle connection. I don't worry myself about being too fatigued from warm-ups. If an extra sub-maximal set or 2 in my workout limits my ability for my top sets, then I would argue that I'm out of shape and I have poor work capacity. So I would actually want to do more warm-ups to get my work capacity up if I felt that doing 1 or 2 warm-ups was going to screw up my whole workout. So I'm more in that side of things, as if a sub-maximal set messes me up, I have other problems. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and do a set of 8. And even though it's light, I actually still use my wrist straps because I'm going to be using my wrist straps on the heavy set. So I want to get used to wrapping them, find out the right length that I want for them. They're a part of setting up the movement as well. If I was worried about wrist straps limiting forearm development, I would just add some forearm work at the end of the workout or another workout during the week. I've never found a problem. My max effort deadlift when I used to do powerlifting was 700 pounds, and grip wasn't the problem. It was that it was 700 pounds and I needed to get stronger in all my deadlift muscles if I wanted to keep getting stronger in my total. But even though I used wrist straps in all my accessories, my grip was never an issue. That was even with a hand injury. So I would use the wrist straps if you're training back to make sure you maximize your back, and then throw grip work later on in the program somewhere else if you're worried about grip or forearm development. Okay, so we'll get a set of 8. Okay, so nothing earth-shattering, pretty easy. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and grab a plate, throw that on. And since these are sub-maximal, I'm not going to take a super long rest. The same thing that I would do with the unilateral work is what I would do with this, is I just kind of get the weight set, get a breath or 2, and then get moving. And again, I don't want my working sets to be limited by my breath. I want it to be muscle failure. But if these are submaximal, I'm already ready aerobically, so I can just go right into it. As my warm-ups would get heavier, they would be a little more aerobically exhausting per set as they got heavier and heavier. So then I would take a little bit longer and longer and longer rest. Okay. Good. So that felt good. So we'll go up another plate. And again, this is kind of the usual pace for me. That way I'm getting a good amount of work in, not wasting too much time. And then as I need longer rests, I've built up more time allowance by not taking too long on my warm-ups. So then if I want to take a little longer in my working set rest periods, I now have that time. So if during the warm-ups I was taking an unnecessary 30 seconds to a minute every time, I'm now 3-4 minutes shorter on my workout time than I could have been given to rest periods on the heavier weights. So it's just something I think of is move fast when you can, and then when you need to move slow, you can do so. Okay, so that one's getting harder, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of a breather. So with this variation, what I like about this setup is I can stay more upright, and I kind of lean back into my heels, and then I use the arc of the bar to kind of pull up and then back. And for me, it hits really well at the lower inside portion of my shoulder blades. So I get a really good lower trap development, kind of rhomboids all around that shoulder blade area. Now on this one, I do use the floor as a little bit of a guide. I want to feel my shoulders open up as I stretch. So I'll stay upright enough that I can get that stretch by the time the weights tap the floor. And then I want to drive it up, but trying not to do too much of a body swing. So it feels like today, if I were to stay here, I could milk out the eccentric a little bit and maybe be more cautious to make it work. But I actually did really slow, controlled eccentrics on the first two movements. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a 25 on this just to have a little more aggression in this one, since I already did the contrast of slow and controlled in the first two movements. It's not that I don't want to have control here, but I do like having a little mix in my workouts where some of the movements super slow, very meticulous, but then you have one or two movements where you're just having fun kind of pushing some weight around, making sure you still feel it in the target muscle, but you get that satisfaction of like a massive pump and you move some cool weights. So we'll get this set in, and that is about the rest that I would take. That's probably like 3-ish minutes. And now I get into my working sets. Okay, we'll see how the first one goes. Okay, so that's definitely on the edge of too heavy. I didn't have too much of a body English, but I could feel like my body's starting to sway in that one. So I'll stay here and get some working sets in. And at this aerobic exhaustion level, I'll probably take about 2 to 3 minutes. And that'll be how I manage my rest time on my heavier working sets. So you can see on the warm-ups, it's basically just bang, 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 bang. And then you start taking your longer rests when the weights get heavier. And again, what you're looking to balance is I want these working sets to fail because my muscles are failing, not because I can't breathe. So you want to get your breath enough that it's not going to be a limiter, but as soon as you feel that, you go right into your next working set. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section below. And thank you for watching.